Okay, at this time I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Make it. I'll second it.
Jed?
Yes.
Mandy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Superintendent's report. First item is to honor the Team Quest teams and coaches. I believe tonight we have our 7th grade and 8th grade and our fresh soft and senior teams here tonight. We honored our grade school teams at the December meeting, so at this time I'll turn it over. Why don't we start with the junior high?
Okay.
Mrs. Hall, if you don't mind.
All right, yes, come on up.
Okay, thank you for recognizing our 7th and 8th graders. This is Riley Hart and this is Megan Cool. We're a little nervous tonight. This is the first time for a school board meeting for them, so I said that you would all be easy on them. So
Good practice. Great practice for you.
yes. First, I would like to tell you who our 7th grade team is, and 3 of them are not here because they had sports or whatever tonight, and Riley, he was available. So Riley Hart, Nicholas Shamhart, Faith Scholl, and Owen Mahaffey was on our 7th grade team, and they got 3rd place. And this is Megan Cool. She was on our 8th grade team with Emma Kidwell, Emily Carr, and Evan Schaefer, and they got 2nd place. And so, again, you probably heard this several times, Team Quest, you know, it's an annual STEM competition among the local schools here in the ROE school district. So I said I was not going to do all the talking tonight because they are the winners, and so they even came prepared with cue cards. So they're going to talk to you about their experience. Do you want to go first, Megan, or is Riley going first? Okay, and I'm going to send this around. Here are some pictures that was sent to us from ROE with all the students and their, you know, activities and things. Go ahead, Megan.
We had this creative challenge where we had to make an Illinois pyramid. It was because next year is the bicentennial of Illinois, which means that it's our 200th year being a state. It was like a model for something that would go on display like at the Capitol building. For our group, Emma was really creative, so she loved this. So we had like cut out popcorn on one side. It was a 4-sided pyramid. We had like the license plate with a slogan, which is Land of Lincoln, a butterfly, and like prairie grass because we're the prairie state. And then on another side, the fireworks and the state motto and the date of, you know, us becoming a state. The motto is State Sovereignty, National Union, and then December 3rd, 1818. And then we had popcorn. We used poster board paper for the sides and whatever else we had. We had this 1-minute challenge where we had to we had blocks. We went into a room that we were separated from all the other teams, and we had to make it as tall as we could in 1 minute. And when we got in there, we were like, oh, this is gonna be so easy because, you know, it's a minute and we just have to build blocks. And we got to the last 5 seconds, and we had this 1 block left, and Evan was gonna put it on, so Emma and I were like, and then we ended up being okay. So. We had a math challenge, which was 11 really advanced math problems. We decided that we could probably get more done if we split up into teams. So Emily and I worked on one page, and Emma and Evan worked on the other. And at the end, we got about 8 of the 11 done. So, and then the last thing that we did of the day was a trivia challenge, which was about 10 questions. We had 1 bonus ticket where we could use it on any one we wanted if we thought it was right, and then that would double the points. We ended up using it on the first one because I was the only one that we felt like we actually had it right, and that was a good thing because it was one of the only ones we had right.
Okay, Riley?
Okay, so one of the third things we did was we had to build sawhorses, and during that we had to put different blocks on. One was 10 pounds, one was 15, the other one was 20, and altogether they added up, but frankly we didn't make it all the way through, so that's pretty sad. But, so after that we had to take different buildings from different locations, and we had to find out the song that went with them. And I think we did pretty good on it, but some of them were jazz, some of them were music from Seattle or New York or maybe Chicago, like Sears Tower. The other one we did was the musical challenge, so we had to take the major and the minor scales, and we had to find different notes and if they were right in the right order they were in. So that one was pretty difficult because I don't know how to play the piano, but it was pretty good that we had Nicholas on our team because he did most of that. One of the last things we did was the houses and the names of them, like the shacks or the bungalows, and it was difficult, but it got to the point where at the end it was pretty easy because like Victorian houses were pretty easy because they're pretty noticeable, and bungalows have bridges and stuff, so that was also pretty noticeable. So we got through those pretty fast, and I think that's stuff I did really fast.
Did you enjoy yourself? Would you recommend it to anyone that was nominated to go?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be something different, but it turned out to be pretty easy. It was pretty fun too. We got free snacks and pizza.
And a trophy. Yeah, they all came home with trophies, so there were a lot of smiles on the way home. So they all did a great job. We're very proud of them.
Absolutely, we're proud of you
Congratulations.
too.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you
job.
very much.
Great job. Next will be the high school.
Yes, good evening, I'm Judy Goble, and I have 4 of our 8. We take 2 teams, a fresh soft team and then a junior senior team. 2 members of the fresh soft team here are Madison Phillips with us and also Mitch Zumballen. Even though they didn't place, they did a fabulous job with all the activities that they did. The other 2 people that were on that team were Kyle Schaefer and Danae Cantrell. They were unable to be here tonight. And then our junior senior team, which was Evan Fox, Carrie Zumballen. We also had Taylor Smith and Creighton Chestnut on that team as well. They did place second, so they'll be going on to the next level. And of course, they did a fabulous job as well. They didn't have anything prepared, so I'm going to kind of put them on the spot. I just want you to think about some of the activities that you did and either share something about one of the activities that really stands out in your mind that was challenging to you, or else share with them some of the aspects that you think you gained by participating in going on the Team Quest competition. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay.
Every year they have a theme for the contest or for the competition, and this year our theme was construction. So like we started out and we had to build a house of cards, and so we're like, oh boy, here we go, because none of us knew how to build a house of cards. We're just trying to put it together and it just keeps falling apart. And then we found out that we could fold them and tear them, and got it put together pretty well after that. And we did pretty well all day. So a lot of construction, even the creative challenges were construction. We had to build a lot of stuff since the theme was construction. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun.
We had pieces of cardboard that were split up. What was like 4 or 5 different pieces, different aspects like dimensions. We were able, like 30 minutes or something, in order to build a scaffold, and this scaffold had to hold a certain amount of weight. It was pretty heavy. It was like probably 10 pounds, I would say. So we would build that, and then we had tape and everything, but we would put the weights on top and see if it would hold it.
I really enjoyed going to House of Cards. It was cool just to look around and see all the differences among all the groups. Like, none of the towers were the same. It was just cool to see all the creativity. And the whole day took a lot of teamwork. All the tasks, we had to get done in a certain amount of time, which was difficult unless you work as a team. So it was kind of cool to get out of the classroom and use some of our skills that we have.
And one of my favorite activities we did that day was building a cell tower. So you had to build it and it had to have like bars on it. But they also did it so whoever could get like the highest, you got like extra points if you got the highest. And people were getting it pretty high. I had to sit on a table, so you had to use like chairs to reach the top of most of them, and it was fun. And then we had a 1-minute challenge, like the junior high had, and then you had to like stack these blocks and try to get them the highest in a minute's time. And like the last block we put on top just about fell over the whole thing, but we made it.
I think this was Madison's first time for going, wasn't it? Okay. And the students are chosen by recommendation from their teachers. So it is just quite an honor for them just to be chosen to go. And Mitch said something about teamwork, and it definitely takes a lot of teamwork because they have all those challenges that they have to compete in a certain amount of time. So when you're choosing students to go, you have to look for someone who's not only bright, quick to learn, but also easy to work with, can work with others, and just all around good students and fun to be with. So I've enjoyed working with all of them. So thank you for all your efforts.
Our bishop is saying thank you to the students, but also the parents that are here. We appreciate your students and our staff. It takes a lot of time to spend time and effort at those things, so thank you again. Appreciate that. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay, as they're leaving, item B on my superintendent's report is just an update, superintendent evaluation. I've got to have an evaluation every year. Board members will be receiving the evaluation form from Janet within the next month, and details for the process will be provided with the form. So just to make note that everybody will receive it. We'll do it very similar to last year, but unless somebody sees something that they want done differently. Okay. Next is C. We've got some thank you notes. The first one is a thank you note from Newton Elementary. Thank you, Board of Education, so much for the pretty plates of cookies. Everything was delicious. So right before Christmas, we make sure that they've all got cookies in the buildings, and Newton Elementary thanked us for that. Secondly is the high school also sent us a card. Board of Education, thank you for the delicious cookies. They are greatly appreciated. Thanks again. And then the last one is from Lakeland College. This is a thank you. It says thank you for partnering with Lakeland College. The field experience is invaluable to our students, and your continued cooperation is greatly appreciated. For many of them, it is their first exposure to classroom structure, teaching methods, and opportunities to work with diverse student populations. It is also their first opportunity to put into practice their knowledge related to educating children. We look forward to working with you in the future, sincerely. So we work well with Lakeland, and I think that's neat that they reach out to us and thank us for that. Next would be a small announcement, and maybe you've seen some stuff, and if you haven't, it's coming out soon. We did mention at the last board meeting that we were waiving the 5 Essential Survey, replacing it with the National School Climate Center Survey, which will go more in depth. We are asking all parents to fill out the survey. There'll be information coming out if you're a parent. All parents to fill out the survey. Survey will be given to students and school personnel also. We're asking that every single member of our school community to fill this out. This survey is designed to assess perceptions of the school environment, including safety, relationships, support for learning, and the environment within the school. The start date on that will be February 5th, and the end, we got to close that by February 23rd. Once we compile all that information, we will have reports coming out in regards to that, and I think we're even talking about having a community meeting or something of that sort to be able to convey a lot of that information, which we think will be very important moving forward as a district. Any questions on those? 5th through the 23rd, February 5 through February 23rd. And you'll receive, if you're a parent, you'll receive that through teacher ease. If you're not a parent, you're a staff member, we've got other ways that we're getting that to you. Okay, that's all I have for superintendent's report.
All right, we're going to move into the recognition of guests and public comments. Just a couple of things for tonight. I only have one person signed up for a 5-minute presentation, and then I have one person for 2 minutes. And if there's anyone else in the crowd that would like to speak tonight, you're welcome to. But what we'll do is that we will adhere to the time frame. So Miss Lindley will have 5 minutes. She signed up early, and I do have Troy for 2 minutes. And then if anyone else wants to speak, you would have be allowed 2 minutes, and we will let you know when it's time to stop talking. And so at this time, the only 2 people I know of are Troy and Susan. So whoever would like to go first.
May I ask a question, please? Where was the sign-in sheet for speakers? I didn't notice that.
We don't have a sign-in sheet. If you just wanted to let us know, then you'll get your 2 minutes.
Yes.
And you said someone would get the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes?
Yes, if you called in.
You called in ahead of time.
Per our board policy.
So I can come to a public meeting and speak publicly?
Okay, you're gonna get to speak publicly if you would like to. You're gonna have 2 minutes to do it.
You're making a distinction here, 5.
I'm not gonna engage back and forth. It's our
It's a
business
question.
meeting.
It's
These
a
are our
question.
rules. We've answered the question. You'll have 2 minutes. We're gonna proceed with public comment.
Are you the
Thank
chairman?
We're gonna proceed
I
with
didn't
public
I have
think
one
comment.
person with 5 minutes. or I have Troy with 2 minutes. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. 'Cause-
Are you Troy?
Yes.
Okay, Troy, come on.
I'll apologize to, I didn't realize there were gonna be this many people here. So, I'm a school board member from over at T-Town, and I actually came over to look at the track thing that you guys are looking at, because we're looking at possibly putting a trap team over at Teutopolis. And, everything I say here is my own personal opinion. I am not by any means speaking for the Teutopolis School Board. I wanna make that perfectly clear. But I do wanna say that I do see a lot in the paper, and I see a lot on social media, and I want to tell you, I had the pleasure of working with Andy, and when Andy came over here, I was asked by several people what my thoughts were on Mr. Johnson. And I told everybody, I said, he's horrible, you don't want him, because we didn't want him to leave. So there's a very few chances a person has in their lifetime to institute positive change. And I'm telling Newton citizens, the Jasper County citizens, I'm telling you board members, that man right there, that's your possibility. He is, he's an amazing man. I think a lot of him, and there's a lot of people that think a lot of him. So when you see a lot of the negative in the newspapers and everything, I just want to make it perfectly clear for somebody that knows him for a time. And Andy has, I'm apologizing to Andy because he had no idea I was going to do this tonight, and he didn't know I was coming. But we're not even that close of friends that we exchange phone calls back and forth. I just worked with him on the board, and there's a man that I truly respect. We disagreed a lot, and I'm the first person on our board to question everything. But his honesty and his integrity is bar none, so you guys are very, very lucky to have him. I just wanted to put that out there, that you guys truly are blessed, and you do have an opportunity to really make a positive change for things that are happening in your district. I'm not by any means telling you what to do, but I just, there's few people that I would stand up and I would speak about. That man's one of them. So I just wanted you guys all to know that. So.
And thank you from me, Troy.
Troy Orgeron. Susan, would you like to go next?
Is there somebody else who wants to go?
I think there's other folks that want to speak.
Yeah, me, Susan, for 2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead, Susan.
Okay. First, I want to start with the fact that at some time or another, I personally voted for each and every one of you to represent the District of Jasper County, except for you, Mr. Johnson, our superintendent, who was hired by the setting board at that time. I did, however, do my homework on you and made several calls and contacts to be sure you were who we needed to keep our unit headed in the right direction. You are the one for the job. I want each of you to understand I have the power. I voted for you. I asserted my rights as a resident of this county, and I put you on the board. Now also understand, I will assert that right again. You work for me. I have the power. It is time for this crap to stop. Whenever a picture like this comes out in the disclosure, this is not a good thing. Mr. Ernest, you are suing the board, who took months to come to their decision, and it was under the advisement of the district's attorney and their firm. I attended all meetings leading up to your censorship, and you were not in attendance. I cannot believe that our legal counsel did not take all legal steps to ensure that every I was dotted and T crossed. Now, I might be proven wrong, and if I am, then we need to hire a new law firm and ask for reimbursement of all money spent on this issue. Sorry. In return, if you lose, I hope that the district requests that you reimburse all legal fees that they will incur. This is an embarrassment for our community. Who would want to move here and put their children in our school district? When a person does something wrong, own it. The buck stops here. Mr. Ernest, during the candidate public forum on March 30th, 2015, you stated that you're concerned for the lack of accountability. You want transparency. This goes both ways. How much money have you cost this district since you've been a board member? Not just in FOIAs, but a total cost. Do you know that figure?
The board member, we don't answer questions during public comment.
All right. I feel all expenses incurred by each board member should be made available a week in advance before each monthly meeting. That is a power that I feel we have. Did you ever follow through with your financial ideas that you presented at the candidate public forum? Ever since you have been on the board, it has been a dead earnest show. You have requested more information than any other board member that I have seen. Have you found where someone's embezzled money and will have to pay it back? What have you found that would offset the amount you have cost the district? By all means, put it on the table. Show us. Be accountable. Be transparent. We all have a legacy. Everyone here tonight needs to think about this. Do we do the best we can every day and earn fellow persons' respect? My husband and I, we watch a family show. It's called Family Food. It's on most evenings. That's when we eat our meal. A couple of weeks ago, one of the questions asked was, when you die, how many people will attend your funeral? I could not believe it when one answered 50 and the other answered 100. Here everyone goes. I've been to funerals where there's 500 people, and I've been to some where there are 1,000. That, my friends, is legacy. So when do all of you ask yourselves before you come to the monthly meeting, will my decisions and actions be for the betterment of the children who attend and reside in this district? If not, you have filed for the wrong position. And there are a couple of code of conducts that I would like to read if I have time.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, I would recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by majority vote at a board meeting. 4, I will take no private action that might compromise the board or administration, and I will respect the confidentiality of privileged information. 5, I will abide by majority decisions of the board by retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. And 1 here, I will strive for a positive working relationship with the superintendent, respecting the superintendent's authority to advise the board, implement board policy, and administer the district. If you're not sure about these, every night before every time you come to a monthly meeting, then you guys need to read these. Because this is your Bible.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else?
I just got one thing to say. Jed, I voted for you. Never again. I lost all confidence in you. I sat and I watched you sit there, and it's like you don't even know what's going on. You're not reacting to nothing. And I couldn't sit there and let people talk to me like we have and not be effective. But here's what I gotta say. Starting with Mandy and around, yous have been the best board we've had. I'm so glad, and we are so lucky to have gotten Andy. Andy has done so much for this unit and this board. I worked at that school 23 years, and the last few years I've worked was, well, I'm going to say, it was hell out there. There wasn't no one that you could trust. It was, you didn't know what the next person or next thing was going to be said to you. And now, that's gone. All because of this man sitting right there. Yes, it is, Andy. You want me to come up there and bop you with this? I got my team with me tonight. But that's the kind of people we need. The people, if them kids had been here, I'd say, you're protecting these kids. And that's your job, is to protect all the kids in this whole community. It's just like it's Susan and Lance and all of our job to stand up when it's wrong, when people's being attacked. Because it's not right. We've got good principals, we've got good Chris Parsons. There isn't one of them here that's bad. And you know what? I'm proud of every one of you up there till I get to you.
10 seconds, buddy.
And that's, I know my time's over. But all I want to say is, just keep doing your job for the kids. Don't worry about them.
I just want to say a couple things. A person's civil rights go above all else. The board is taking the civil rights of a singular board member away And the board is taking the civil rights of every voter in the district away by taking the civil rights of one board member away. You need to find another way to deal with it. If you're breaking the law, you're gonna lose. Second thing, Ms. Stanley, are you gonna own up to lying on 911 call? We're getting extremely violent. Nobody was in here getting violent. You lied on that 911 call. You know it. Ms. Farley, you gonna admit to lying to the police? Saying I was leaning over the table. I can't lean over the table from 4 feet away. It's impossible. You want to hold other people's feet to the fire? Hold your own feet to the fire. Own up to lying to 911. Own up to lying to the police department. And I think Mr. Johnson got an exercise in holding people's feet to the fire this past week, a week and a half. That was what that exercise was. And yes, I do want all those documents, and I'm going to post them online for everybody to see. But the point is, if you're going to hold other people's feet to the fire, hold your own feet to the fire. And then finally, I wish you would have put something out there about your discussion of board member use of email account, because if you think you're going to force everybody to use the board member email account for anything they do,
10 seconds.
I don't believe you have the authority to do that. I'm hoping that's not what you're going to try to do. But I don't know, since I couldn't read what you were going to talk about. Thanks.
All right, anyone else?
My name's Tom, y'all. I didn't go to the last board meeting, but I read about it in the paper and all the riffraff goes on. I used to think this was for the good of the kids. Now it's turned into a shithole mess. I don't know why it has, but when I was reading, it said the Edgar County Watch Group Goons or whatever the hell you want to call them were here. I don't know if they're here tonight or not, but if we can't take care of our own business, why do we have to allow somebody else to come in here unless one of us ain't got the balls enough to do something about themselves?
Okay, anyone else?
All real taxpayer, I just like to know what all this is costing, all this FOIA, what that's costing. Can you make that public to all of us?
We're in the process. It's quite a tedious process, but we will update our website.
Thank you.
We put a place on there and hope that we would never need to use it, but we've been asked and we'll do the best we can to come up with numbers.
Thank you.
There'll be a complete estimate because it's very difficult. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a letter from the Attorney General, and I appreciate the lady's comments in regards to cost of FOIAs. Most public bodies, you can take care of them internally and you don't need legal counsel to take care of FOIAs. And it's similar in this situation, the letter that the Attorney General wrote. It's my understanding that the board has attempted to restrict trustee Diane Barrett's access, another school district, to information in the files and records of the body which she is a member. It's my further understanding she's being required to submit written freedom of information requests in order to obtain pertinent information of the district. It's been held a public official by virtue of the office is generally entitled to access information held by the public body, including information which might not necessarily be made available or accessible by members of the general public. That's Ebert v. Thompson. That's a third appellate district case. Public official is generally not required to file a Freedom of Information Act request to obtain records of information needed in the performance of his or her duties. So if he, I don't know if you guys are making him file a FOIA, I have no clue, but if you are, you brought that on yourself, and case law says you shouldn't be doing that. So I'd be happy to leave this letter with you. Again, this was from the Attorney General's office on that topic. The only other comment I have is kind of to echo what Mr. Kraft said. Ms. Stanley, I sat over here at the last meeting. I was polite. I addressed your board. I asked one question, maybe two questions during public comment. You were out there on the phone and you said we were getting violent. I sat there quietly and politely the whole meeting. Why would you tell the police that? Here's why I'm concerned as a first responder, a fire chief, and an EMT, and I'm sure the police will appreciate this. When you provide false information on a call, it heightens that gentleman's response. It heightens his emotional response to a situation. And that puts people in danger, and it is a crime to call a false 911 call. Thank you.
Anyone else? you've actually already had your time, sorry, dear. Anyone else tonight? All right. Item number 5.
Okay, again, hello everybody, Tony Luizzi, one of the attorneys for the district. So the next agenda item is to talk about whether or not the district would like to implement a policy where they use board members and district employees would be required or strongly suggested for public officials, and we'll talk about that, to use their district-issued email accounts when we're talking about district business. And there's several reasons for doing that, most notably, especially in the district that's receiving I'd say a large amount of FOIAs over the last 12 to 24 months, is that it's easier for the district to be able to, a lot of these FOIAs, as you guys are well aware, are for emails. And it makes it much easier for the district to collect and gather those emails and make sure that they are totally responding to FOIA requests when they have access to the emails on their server. Now, and one of the members of the public pointed out, yes, we can strongly suggest and ask each of you, the 7 of you, to use your district email. And that, I believe, is what Mr. Johnson would like to do with this district. Now, to the extent that one of you chooses not to comply, you know, there's not much, we've had this discussion before, right? There's not much you can do but respectfully ask. And all we can control is the actions of the district. So unless this board objects, and we'll bring it at a future board meeting for action, we'd like to implement a policy where it is called for district employees and for district board members to be using their district issued email when talking about district business. To the that will be, that has been how Mr. Johnson's been operating. Everything he pushes out to you folks is through his district email. Sometimes people respond with their district email, sometimes they don't. If they don't, I think what you typically do, a lot of districts do this, is that when we respond to the person that's not using their district issued email, they will be copied, both emails will be copied. So for example, if it's a Google account, it will be Google and their district issued email. There are a lot of districts that are doing this, and it is a protection for the board members. We did have actually a case up in Lake County where the state's attorney had to step in and went and confiscated board members' personal computers because they were using their private accounts, and they did believe that there were public records on those computers and communications going on, so they did go in and confiscate. At the district I worked at for several years, I was the FOIA officer. We had many FOIAs that went to our board members' accounts, and when we started, they did use their private accounts, and it was a nightmare for me to have to work with those 7 board members to try to obtain those records. Whereas we can just now, when it's on our server, go to the district technology department and say, here's the FOIA request, here's the parameters we need. Can you please gather these documents so that we can start to cull through them and find out what can be released and what can't. So it's really as simple as that. It's a discussion that Mr. Johnson and I have been having for several months because of the volume of FOIAs in this district, and it would just make it easier to manage. So that's it. It's nothing terribly controversial. There are many districts that do it, and again, I do have to be acknowledged that if a board member chooses not to do it, there's not much, you know, a sitting board can do to enforce that, but to respectfully ask that they do, you know, respect the rule and try to oblige by it.
Okay.
So, didn't know if you guys want to have any discussions, any questions, otherwise I believe Andy would be bringing that back. We'll look at your policy, see if anything needs to be amended, but we'd be bringing that back at the next board meeting for you guys to take action on. But he's already doing this from his office, so.
Discussion.
Yes. I see our technology director's here tonight, and I'd like to ask, how secure is our server?
We use Google for our email, so you know I would say as far as security, they're you know pretty well up there. I would like to think so.
You're the administrator. You have a password to get into it, correct?
Yes.
How many other people have access to it?
Bill Sanguinetti, our other, our technology support specialist has some limited access to that.
So who would that be?
Bill Sanguinetti, the technology support person, he works at Newton Elementary primarily.
Does anybody else?
Mr. Johnson also has some access to that.
That's limited too, correct? I don't have all access to it.
Right.
And since he brought attention to Aaron, if you don't mind, I'd like to explain to you that that gentleman right there is amazing. And I think we've got plenty of staff sitting right in here. I've been in lots of districts. He flat gets it done. So Aaron, we appreciate you since your attention's been drawn to you. Thank you.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, because I appreciate what you do, but I think I was entitled to the questions, and you're the one that could answer them.
And they're great questions.
They are,
And
they're
again,
relevant questions. Security is a concern. I have not been noted, or since I've been looking at the district, of any issues with breaching your security of your servers.
you continually update.
Can you get into it?
Me? No.
So how would you know?
Because I've been working very closely with them on obviously a lot of issues related to email. We've had no allegations or that have been brought to my attention. I could be wrong.
But that you're basing it on allegations.
I'm basing it on my experience for working closely with the district for 2 years, and it's never been brought to my attention despite many, many FOIA requests about emails that we've had in breach cases. But that's secondary information. You have the person right there. And
Sure.
They just answered your questions.
Okay, moving on. Need a motion to approve regular and closed minutes.
I got a question on that. Number one, the regular minutes, there's several things left out of it. Number one, the discussion pertaining, I haven't got it in front of me, the discussion pertaining to the board superintendent going to master's hands. That appeared in the Newton paper. And there's nothing in the minutes about that. And furthermore, there wasn't anything on the agenda, but there was a straw poll taken that was obvious there. I think that needs to be added to the regular minutes. And then another thing from last month, there was a discussion about the committees, the building, particularly the building committee that met on September 25th.
You're telling me.
No, when did the building committee meet? September 25th?
I'll have to look. I didn't have anything on the agenda for building committee.
Those minutes have never been approved. There was 3 building committee minutes that have never been approved. And I believe the law is...
Mr. Nurse, are these relevant to the minutes from December 18th?
No.
This is a different issue? Because right now, I think what we're trying to do...
But we
is-
should be.
You can bring up a different issue, but I think right now we're focusing on whether or not to approve these minutes, and you've made 2 amendments, right? That there was something related to, with the superintendent master hand, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what that is, and then there was also discussion about building committee.
Are you the chairman?
No, I'm the attorney.
So...
And I'm just helping run the meeting effectively. Does anybody else object?
No.
Okay. So you can raise this issue. I just want to focus on the issue at hand right now, which is approving these minutes.
And then again, are you the chairman?
I am not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So do you have any more comments on these minutes?
No, need a motion.
I'll make it.
Second. So are we voting on the amended or?
Voting as amended, the motion is to
Amend.
Okay. Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Polly? Yes. Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jed?
No.
Mandy?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Approval of all financial reports, including the balance sheet, bills, and payroll. Any discussion?
Here again, last month, we talked about a check to Sue Strauss. And I noticed the second check had changed. Is there a reason for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I share with him? The reason for that is that the money, now let's get into the personal side. Is it okay to share personal information with him?
Personal,
My personal pay. I paid for things personally.
oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Stu Strauss will take money coming out of my wife's check for the difference in what it takes for us to have an insurance plan. Stu Strauss will pay that difference instead of coming out of my check that we were paying out of here. That's the difference in it. So let's back up.
That was a payroll withholding.
Payroll withholding, yes.
Okay.
That we send them
Sure.
X amount of money. Stu Strauss is now doing that instead of us.
Sure. I think that's a legitimate question too.
Absolutely. But I don't know that the necessity of my personal finances when it's outside the scope of what this district does for my money. I think that's where it crossed the line right there, in my opinion. But I answered it, so we'll go on.
So, anything else? Okay, need a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
John?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jed?
Yes.
Mandy? Yes. Gordon?
Yes.
Okay, we have several donations to accept. We'll accept them all at one time unless somebody has an issue with that. Nope? Okay. First one is FY18 School District Library Grant Award in the amount of $909.75. Kathy wrote for this, I believe, correct? Thank you. Second, I would like you to consider on accepting 2 hospital beds for our CNA class. Excuse me, one of the beds was donated by Newton Care Center and the other by an anonymous donor. These beds are mandatory due to the state requirements for offering this class. Thirdly, please accept the following donations from the athletic boosters: pitching machine for the baseball team, sound system for the weight room, and plyo boxes for the weight room. And then lastly, please accept the following donation from Diedrich Bank for $1,000 to go towards the NCHS one-to-one initiative. Thanks for your consideration on these donations.
Motion?
I'll second it.
Holly? Yes. Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jed?
Yes.
Mandy? Yes. Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Positive news and communication. St. Marie Elementary, we had 100% attendance for our Christmas programs. The teachers and students did an amazing job, as well as the entire staff at St. Marie. All students were signed out by a parent after their performance. Thank you for that, Mr. Benefield. Thank you to Joni Elliott, Jeff Finley, and Brian Ridland, and our Newton Elementary students for the excellent Christmas program and concert. Seems like that was 3 months, this Christmas stuff was 3 months ago. But it wasn't, it was last month. 100th day of school will be Friday, January 26th. I think that's moved now. Because of snow days, so don't put that in the paper, we'll get that changed.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, whatever that Tuesday is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you to our custodians and Chris Parr and his staff for plowing the snow and making it safe for our students, staff and students to walk into and around the building. Again, Chris is here. I don't think you've got any other staff here, but please reiterate to your folks, it's been a tough week. Tough week for all of us, but you guys have done a great job. And while we're there, I think bus drivers, I think we've got a bus driver or 2 in the building, so thank you for getting out there and getting them safe today, and we hope we're back in operation for a while. Junior high Christmas concert was a great success. We have such incredibly talented students. Thank you to Mr. Finley, Mr. Ridland for a great concert and performance from the chorus and band. Volleyball season is underway. Basketball regular season will finish up, actually we're supposed to finish up tonight, wasn't it?
They're on the road tonight.
Huh? They're on the road tonight. So they'll get into regional play. Scholastic Bowl begins practice this week with Coach Kelsey Cox. Their first match is February 15th. Congratulations to Mrs. Sturgeon, now a National Board Certified Teacher. So if you see her, please pass that along. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Travis. And Newton High School, this Saturday is the CEO class business. If you don't have anything going on, come out from 9 to 3. I think it'll be a great time. I believe they've got 30 booths.
Yeah, approximately
Approximately
30.
30 booths.
Because they've had some ad in the last day or two, so
Right.
yeah, probably around 30.
So it's going to be a pretty exciting time. Well,
It
we're
is
looking forward to it. We will have a Jasper County unit district booth, so where we will be putting out information for future employment if people are interested in that, and showing some things and walking people through our website in case they don't know how to get to some things of that nature. So I think that will be kind of neat, and I'll be there all day. I think Beth's going to be there all day, and then we've got other administrators that are going to kind of rotate through it as well. Boys basketball team won the Diedrich Holiday Tournament. Nick Cohorst and Jack Chapman were named all tournament team. At the boys basketball game Tuesday night, we recognized Mr. Harris for his 100th win as the Lady Eagles basketball coach. Also recognized this year's Illinois State Scholars at that event. I don't think they were all there, but most of them were there.
All but one. Yep.
Abby Froning was named MVP of the Diedrich Holiday Tournament. And then Cassie Baker and Sandy Webb are now also National Board Certified Teachers. So thank you for that, Mrs. Probst. And that concludes Positive News and Communication. Next will be FOIA request status report. As you can see, we have 5 on there. We are still in the process. We do have 1 or 2 pending in the bin right now that we're still working on. It has been a FOIA frenzy last, probably 2 weeks, week and a half or so. I do appreciate the attorney firm for taking care of those. And I will explain, it was brought up earlier that the lack of necessity to use these people. Our FOIA requests are pretty big and pretty in-depth and go into a lot of financial information and a lot of personal information. So I want to make sure that it's done correctly. So I think going through the attorney firm is the appropriate way to make sure we protect students and staff in moving forward with any information that would move out there. So again, there was a comment made earlier, and I would just like to reiterate why I do what I do in the position I'm in. If the board at some point would like me to do that differently, I think they probably have the right to tell me to try to do it on my own and see where we go. But at this point, I don't think I've had a board that has made that statement to me.
And just to add on to that, certainly there are FOIA requests, and many districts deal with them without dealing with legal counsel. And they're typically your less burdensome, straightforward requests. I want a copy of an employment contract. I want a copy of a service agreement. I want a copy of minutes. Things like that, where I think most districts would handle those on their own. Those are very simple. You guys are getting some pretty big requests, often involving emails, correspondence that may include confidential student information, may include confidential personnel information. So, and Andy being, this is year 2, right, as a FOIA officer, despite going through training, it's many districts lean on us when it's those kinds of FOIA requests, because there are laws that prohibit certain things that you can disclose, and you want to make sure that you're not doing that. So we would be very happy if you guys were getting less FOIA requests and we were less involved, believe me. But at the end of the day, we also need to make sure that we're protecting the district from liability from disclosing things that shouldn't be disclosed.
Anything else on FOIA requests? And we are doing the best, again, as I said, to update the FOIAs and the expense online. I will have to tell you too that, and we're going to try to put a disclosure on there that states that this is strictly the amount in which we are charged by the attorney firm. We cannot figure Aaron's hours when we ask the technology department to retrieve those, the hours that I spend in talking to the attorneys and retrieving things, and the time that my 2 secretaries spend, or whatever capacity or personnel in the district that we need. So that stuff is not figured into the equation of the cost of a FOIA that people need to keep in mind. But again, it is something that we have to do, and we'll continue. New business. First one on there, and we'll need an approval. If there's any discussion, approval of a fuel bid. Chris can help us out a little bit. We only had 1 again. I don't know how many years in a row this has only been 1, but I guess it makes it a little bit easier. But
7, 8, 9, 10, something like that.
Yeah. So questions on the fuel bid?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jed?
Yes.
Mandy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Okay, discussion about the district buildings. GRP, we're still working with GRP on some things, and I think we can talk about this a little bit more when we get down to G, when we talk about the performance contracting. But in this one, in B, what I really want to do is make you aware, more so at this point, about the dining tent structure. We came to the last board meeting, we told you it's gonna cost us $60,000 to put it out there. We were looking into that, we don't like that option. We've gone out, we've also checked in on a pole barn and the expense of that. It's extremely higher than $60,000. So we're leaning now at this point right now, we're going back to the tent structure. We're gonna actually put that tent structure out on the other side of the bus garage, back in the back where we've vacated some spots because we got rid of some buses. And we estimate this expenditure to be around $30,000 to erect the structure. And what will happen with it is it'll be a vocational storage room. However, we're also going to try to build sheds or little buildings and move them in and out of that structure. Okay, so it's kind of more of a storage space than it is a classroom for us, because right now, we're already starting the class and we're in the classroom going through some of the things that they're going to be doing when they work on it. If we don't go that route, if you would choose that we don't, then we're probably going to just turn around, and I don't know what we'll do with the structure, but we're going to turn around and they're going to start building sheds just outside of the welding room or in that area, and we'll work outside in the snow. And construction people do that, so it's not, again, it's not like we're doing something that they wouldn't do. We think this makes more sense to put that structure down there, utilize it. Again, it was donated, and we think we can do that. Anything else you want to elaborate on that?
We're also gonna bring, we have 2 storage facilities in the district, one down in St. Marie, one down Willow Hill, which for our guys to go down there, it requires sometimes taking a tractor because some of the things are used, and 2 trips down there, and it costs a lot of time. Well, we'd really like to keep those guys here doing what they need to be doing, so we're going to bring some of that stuff that we know we have to move back and forth, and we're going to store it in this storage facility as well and keep it on campus. Plus, a lot of that stuff has to do with track, and it's right there by our track, so it makes it easy in close proximity to get that where it needs to be. So not only will they use it for vocational, but we will probably put a lot of our stuff that we know we use quite a bit up here to make it easier for us to get to.
Okay, so that's basically the gist of B, discussions about that. We'll talk a little bit more on the building side of things and what we're thinking moving forward on G. Anything else on B? Okay, C is approve updated job descriptions for pre-K teachers and pre-K paraprofessionals. This is needed for a grant which we are applying for. They changed the grant process this year for the grant that we applied for. We felt we needed, and they basically conveyed to us that we needed to update that. So this is for you to approve basically what we've put into place already, if that's something you're comfortable in for the purpose of applying for a grant. And I need action on that.
Make a motion.
One second.
Rob?
Yes.
Jed?
Yes.
Mandy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Okay, D is a press box project. We got estimated costs, and we're going to throw out complete estimated costs at this point right now, and we think it should be a summer project. It's in the ballpark of $15,000 to $20,000 is what basically we're fiddling around with. We're still looking. So I'm not really looking for an action item on this at this point right now. We do think this is something we would add to the summer project. The community reached out to you as a board and myself, and I've had employees, and I'll be honest with you, we were talking about it last fall when I first got here, about this is something that's got to be on the radar. So we already had the wheels going, and somebody kind of sped it up, we feel like. So we do think that this summer, it is something that we should tackle. And again, I think we can do most of it ourselves, but what we can't, we might have to go out and get a little bit of help.
Probably 95 to 99% of the work we'll do ourselves.
So when you say you're playing around with it, what do we have to do to the structure to make it?
We're talking new windows, new doors, new floor, new walls, new roof,
So what are you doing the structure?
new siding. Yeah. The shell will remain. We're not going to expand it or make it, I mean,
Okay.
as far as the foundation of it, it's in great shape. And when we go to expand and things like that, then we're talking about we need to bring in, different bodies, and we don't want to do that. So
Is this subject to health, life safety inspection?
I don't believe, it's not housed by students, so I don't believe it is. I mean, I can't answer that for sure 100%, but
That's an interesting question. We could ask.
it is a good question to ask. I mean, something we can check into.
Aren't the bleachers?
We can double check that, but that's
When you have people up there, it's in bad shape.
Yeah.
It's in bad shape, so I mean, and we have people on top of there, so it's a liability issue.
Bleachers they get inspected. We get bleacher company come in and inspect them every 3 years, and that's all part of our health life safety. So I don't know that we've ever had a health life safety inspection on our press box, but like I said, it's not housed by students, and I'm not saying it couldn't though. It'd definitely be something worth looking into and seeing.
So really, there's no action item on that tonight. I just really wanted to bring it to your attention. Again, it's people in the community reached out to us, and I want them to understand that we've got it on the radar. Next one is E, planning to post a special education teacher opening for the district for a planned retiree. We've got a special ed teacher retiring, so I just want to bring it to your attention. We kicked around not if, and again, I don't want to get real specific because you're dealing with personnel, but if we were to close St. Marie, and there could be some shuffle, we could be doing some things, but at this point, I'm not anticipating that happening next year. That could all change, but at this point right now, we probably need to go get a special ed teacher on staff to replace the one that's retiring. So unless there's any concern about that, we'll probably get that posted. Okay. Letter F, discussion about an additional FOIA officer, part-time on an hourly basis position. I will tell you, based on the magnitude of what I've dealt with in the last couple of weeks, it's taken a lot of time away from other things that I feel like I need to be doing. I'm not trying to run away from the problem because, you know what, I'm the superintendent, that's part of my duties. But I really think this district and in the vision and mission of where we're heading, there are other things that I need to get to, such as some of the building stuff that we talked about, and we're going to talk about here in a minute too. So with that said, would like to have considered bringing someone on full-time. I don't know that at this point right now we should do that. I think we should walk in it softly. And Diane's already helping us from the bookkeeping standpoint. This would just be giving her some duties, and we'll get her OMA certified and FOIA certified and everything else that she needs to be done so that she could be a part of that process and maybe take some pressure off of myself and the other secretaries in this office. So that's something that basically it's there for discussion. We really don't think we need an action item on that.
Well, you need an action item to designate an additional FOIA officer, so we do that at the next meeting. I think Andy just wanted to make sure before he did that, you guys had a discussion to discuss it. On our end, what we would try to do is work with this person to train them as diligently as we can. So not only is it alleviating the burden off the current staff in this office, but maybe also lessening the legal bill so that they can be handling a lot of the culling and reviewing of the documents before we do it. And pulling out all the duplicates and pulling out all the stuff that would really save the district money on processing some of the bigger FOIA requests. So, but this is Andy's, just a discussion item tonight. If you're going to designate a new FOIA officer, that should be on the agenda next month.
Is there still, the item, we budgeted for her time, is there still money left in that line item?
Yeah, she's not really spent a whole lot of time coming in here with Misty. She has a little bit, but, and the other thing we have to be careful with Diane, she can only work 100 days or whatever it is to jeopardize her retirement. So we won't go over that.
Could you, in between now and next month, could you dig into if we hit that 100 days, then where do we go? So we can have a plan.
We won't hit it. And the fallback plan is Jan and I. We're already doing it. Okay? But if we're to stay at this rate, I would be coming to you, I'll just be honest with you, I'll come to you probably this summer and ask you to look into a full-time position for somebody to do that and maybe some other things for us. And that would be the most ideal situation across the board if we're going to spend this kind of money. That's something to think about down the road. We're just asking for a little bit of relief at this point right now. To be able to do some of these other things. So you're comfortable bringing something back next meeting? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. G, approval to advertise for a performance contracting and construction management company for the purpose of further research into new construction and existing upgrades to current buildings. I think we're getting to a point where we have got to start getting more serious. That sounds terrible, but serious about what are we gonna do. We've got 2.5 years left on our health, life, safety, to where we've gotta do something with the St. Marie building. We're spending lots of money traveling out there and back. We've got other issues in the district, such as, Chris, and maybe we'll start with you. We have a boiler over at our grade school right now, which was part of phase 2, that was set up years ago.
Back in 2013, 14.
Okay, we got a boiler over there that has been patched already.
It's leaking again.
It's leaking again. So do we go out and spend an immense amount of money on repairing that boiler? Or do we speed up the process of phase 2, which was to replace that with an HVAC system? Okay, that's just one prime example right there. The other thing is, we've got, Josh gave me a list, and I appreciate that, of items that are going on at St. Marie. Tiles, lights, and just, you name it. We keep putting money into something that's not gonna be there. So do we keep pumping into that, or do we make a decision to go another direction? So I felt at this point right now, it would be logical to put something of this nature on the agenda, to get more feedback from you on the direction that we want to move as far as architects, performance-based companies, construction managers. What do you have in mind? And I'll, logically speaking at this table, I want to single out Rob. Rob spends a lot of time in this field. I don't. Okay? So if there's some discussion about what all of you think, or Rob, ideas on which way to go.
I've worked on jobs where you had the project management. I've worked on jobs where you just had the architect firm or the general contractor, and then subs under them. If you're gonna spend $40 or $50 million on up, that's where the CM comes into play. You really need it for that. Now, with what we're gonna be looking at, I feel you're totally wasting money to use a CM, or the group that we have right now that's looked at the district. Just for the fact, project management, usually their profit is gonna run you about 15 to 20% of the cost of the job. When you look at, if you use an architect, you're gonna be upwards, top of that would be about 10%. So, there's money to be saved, and when you're talking, we'll see what the numbers end up coming out. A little bit of substantial savings. You'll get into the whole, there's all kinds of, well, what if you don't get a good contractor? At the same time, we're gonna be, it's probably gonna be a big enough contract that if somebody's able to bid it, they're gonna be able to do the job. But you gotta have an architect firm that you trust, because an architect firm, it's gonna be up to them to help run it, but at the same time, for what we'll be spending here, I will have a very hard time supporting a CM. Because you don't have nearly as much control of your prints that you're gonna get. They'll save you money in some areas. The more it costs, do it, the more money they make. And that's the biggest thing that I have against it, because now, does it make it easier for the school if you have a CM to basically wait on you hand and foot? Yeah, it would be. But for what we have, architect and general contractor can get this thing done. So that'll be something we can discuss later on. But I would recommend, it wouldn't be bad to have one of each come to a meeting and, have a CM here to talk to you guys. Have an architect here to talk to you guys. When it comes time to narrow down, if Andy wants to interview them and come up with somebody that he feels comfortable with, I have no problem with that. And then bring them in here and talk to you guys. So you can get both aspects of it.
And Chris and I spoke a little bit today too. You want to elaborate a little bit on our history with the success of, and I'll just say it, GRP's the company that we've used in the past.
They're the company here in the past now. They've done the 1921 section, and they're really the first big project that I've had to work with here. I wasn't really involved in the junior high project whenever that was going on, but I was on the tail end whenever it came to a certain project that was going on in our auto mechanics building, and an architect was in charge of that along with a construction construction company, and it was, on my end of things, a total nightmare. Change order after change order, redrawing, drawing, still couldn't get it right, It seemed like it took several times. We was running into close to heating season with no heat for our kids in the building because they couldn't get it right. So that was a bad taste that we had. GRP come in and you said wait on sand foot, and they did. They brought everything to us, and if we didn't like it, they changed it. They said we don't want this, we didn't change it. They didn't say that you have to do this. Now they did remain within code. They did remain within the health, life, safety code. They did remain in, what was best, what they felt was best. But if there was something they brought to us, it was well taken care of. And they always listened to our opinions, they always listened to what we want, and they worked around that with us. So, now I'm not saying architect firms are bad, and I'm not saying a construction company's not bad, but I'm saying what I've seen in the 7 years I've been with on the operations and maintenance side of things, one didn't work very well for us, and one worked out very, very well for us. And when we got done, it was done. We've had a few small issues, but they came right in, they took care of them. On their side of things, when we had issues, it was like pulling teeth to try to get those things done. And whenever we did bring something to the other about, hey, we don't like the way it is, too bad. That's the way it is.
Do you remember what the cost of the project was? Just a total.
Which project?
The one you're talking about that was nightmare.
No, I don't, because that was part of the junior high. I mean, that was whenever Mr. Benefield was going out and I was kind of coming in, so.
It was estimated by the architect at $800,000. That's the junior high. It went to 1.2 million. The final cost was 2.1. And the architect gets 10%. That's 80,000 off of the 800,000. He made about 130,000 off of his mistake. And that's what I have a problem with.
Do you know who the architect firm was?
No, I do not. I think Grunlow worked on it as a sub, though.
I don't know.
I believe. I think maybe Winky worked on it as a sub. But I do not know who the architect was for sure.
So here's a thought. I talked to Tony just a little bit about this. Really not take action on what's on the agenda tonight. You would table it and come up with a game plan on what direction to go. Okay, I think it's done more for me already by creating some discussion amongst several people to be able to come up with what's best for our district. Okay, I'm not set on anybody. There's nothing in it for me. So we gotta go out and do what's best. So the best avenue to take on that, the more I've thought about it, is putting together a group of people. And you can, can I call it a research cabinet, or what would you call it? Where I just take, if everybody's comfortable here, Rob's in the business, take Rob, and Chris and I, and Rob, and maybe Dave Fritchley, there's 3 or 4 of us, we'll go research some things, because we've had some more information come to us today that, again, I'm not sharing with the public. We don't know for sure if it's a possibility, about buildings in town. Which again, we've reached out and said, is there anybody out there that's got buildings that we could utilize for schools? Because we're in a situation where we drive to St. Marie. We spend the money. It's a great place, okay? We've got to put an awful lot of money in that thing, and we drive back and forth out there. There's just so much of a benefit at some point, and this was talked about long before I came in the picture, so much of a benefit to get everybody to town. And I think that has to be a goal as we continue to move forward. It's just a matter of when and how, and what does that take to get that process done. I think we need to go deeper. I don't think that the building committee that Jed referenced a few minutes ago is the place to go out and research. There's community people on there that we can talk about those kind of things in the meetings to get their input, but we need to go out and do some serious research. Is this property available? Is that property available? Is this company come in? That company come in? And come back to a board meeting with some information and start there.
And I agree with Rob, and we talked about this afternoon. I think we need to bring in GRP or whoever. It doesn't have to be them. Bring in these people. Let them tell us. What do you got? What do you have to offer? What's going to be best for our district? How can you make our district better? And an architect too, as far as that goes. Bring these people in here, and because that's one thing we talk about. I think one thing, I don't remember who said it, but the worry of not getting the right person in here. That's a big worry to me. You know, cause whatever we do, we're doing it and it's gonna affect our kids. So everything we do, we wanna make sure we're doing the best for our kids. And I felt like with that project we had, that really the best for our kids ended up being the end result. They got a comfortable building, they got a safe building, they got a building that they can build, you know, that is really good now. Got rid of the old steam pipe system there, which was 1921, you know, so it was almost 100 years old. Newton Elementary, that boiler is original boiler, 1956 boiler, which so are the pipes, at the high school. And last year we dug up down by Ag and replaced the steam pipe under concrete. We babied it through the winter, and come summer we dug it up and fixed it. So whatever we do, we need to do something, whether it's GRP or it's an architect or whatever it is, it's got to be what's best for our kids and got to be what's best for our buildings. So I'm not against listening to people, but I agree, it's time we need to do something.
So, per the action item here, can we just go through and vote it and decline it? Or do you table it?
You would table it, and it sounds like what you're doing is asking a small task force, one board member only, right?
Yep.
I'd like to be on that.
To gather,
So if we have two,
okay, well,
that changes things, does it?
well, once we get to 3 or more,
Okay.
we would have an Open Meetings Act issue. But have a task force go out, collect this information, but to be clear, no decisions are being made, no action is being taken, no contracts are being, it's to bring it back to this entity as a whole before there be any decision made, so.
And prior to having GRP, we had several people come and present to the board and give us their options and their layouts and their costs, and that was just the best, that we felt was the best fit for the project.
So typically what you'd be doing is you'd ask the superintendent to do this, and then it would be under the superintendent's discretion to decide who to put on that team with him. Again, cautioning that we shouldn't have 3 board members on the team, because then you'd be posting meetings and going places, and that would be cumbersome. So as long as the board as a whole is comfortable with this approach, no action being taken tonight, you would just direct Andy as the superintendent to gather this information and bring it back to you.
So what would we do at the next meeting then?
At the next meeting,
February, do we have an expectation of what we come back with?
if you have the information gathered by then yeah, there would be a discussion. If you're just gonna come back and update, maybe you're still gathering more information, I think the board would probably just want an update on what's going on, and a timeline and a plan.
Okay.
Which, Andy, quite frankly, you could also develop outside of here on your own, and then communicate, push it out to the board so that they know this is what's going on and this is what you can expect coming at a future meeting.
Okay.
Just want everybody to be updated.
So table this?
Yes.
So we need to take action on that then? No action, just table it? Okay. Next is H, approval to declare items as surplus. I would like your consideration on declaring 2 hospital beds as surplus. These beds have been utilized to teach our health occupations class and no longer are usable. They've been replaced by the 2 new ones that you already approved, or will be. So we need approval for this to be declared surplus.
I'll make it.
Second.
Jed,
Yes.
Mandy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Melissa? Yes. Rob?
Yes.
Next one, and I want to apologize before I start. Brad, next time if you come to present something else, I'll get you first on the agenda. I'm sorry, but I didn't even think about that at the time, but Brad will come forward with discussion and possible action regarding establishing the Newton Eagle Trap Team. And I can tell you, Brad came to us last year, and we toyed around with some things and did some checking, and he's done some checking, and now we're here. So we appreciate what he's doing, and the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Basically what I'm coming here tonight is trying to get approval from the school board. What I'm trying to accomplish is starting basically a trap team for high school. The purpose of this is to start a trap team so the students at NCHS, grades 9 through 12, ladies and young men, that participate in shooting sports. We provide safe, comfortable, and positive team environment to enhance the student athlete's character and personal growth through the safety, educational, social acceptance into shooting sport activity. Basically, what this is, it's a high school
conglomerate. I think there's like 15 or 20 states that are involved in this. Illinois, it's through the U.S. Shooting Sports Shooting Sports Association, and every state has their own affiliate. This one's Illinois clay shooting target. Basically, what I'm coming to you guys about, wanting to get approval, how this works. I come to you, you vote on it, and basically, I'm asking you'll write a letter to this particular organization, and that's giving me approval to start this team. So basically, what you're doing is letting me use the school's name and logo. Once this is all sent in and, you know, approved, basically they are taking, each child will basically be accepted into this. Once we get if we get approval, there'll be a roster. Each child will, you know, sign up. They will pay a $35 fee, which will cover liability and insurance for each individual child. And none of this liability, you know, all this insurance is through this organization, so the school has no liability through this trap team. So basically, the school has no cost, plus they don't have no liability with the way this club works. A few points here. There's been over 30,000 participants in over 330,000 events, and over 20 million shots fired since 2001, and there has been 0 reported injuries. Boys and girls are both equally can participate, no matter if they're, you know, handicapped or any problem. The cost, you know, this is up in the air. This is what they suggest, and I got a presentation here. It will cost around $225 per year per student, and that includes the $35 insurance. As of right now, I've been in contact with Beth, and I had a little meeting, you know, with some kids that signed up through Travis Tar, and I have around 18 kids that are, you know, interesting if we do get it up and going. So basically, we're just, what I'm here tonight is looking for approval. So I've got a little presentation here. Yeah, just click on that, about the league. Right there. That was the next to this right. This right. First one? Yeah. Gotcha. Play.
In most sports, young athletes spend years honing skills that they'll never use when they're older. But one sport provides a gateway to a lifetime of enjoyment and expertise: shooting sports. And since 2001, USA High School Clay Target League and its state affiliates have been bringing the excitement of Olympic shooting sports to young people in area schools. The league is open to boys and girls in grades 6 through 12 who've earned their firearm safety certification. Practices and competitions are held weekly at a local gun club under the supervision of trained coaches and volunteers. At each event, every athlete participates equally, taking the same number of shots, regardless of skill level. Scores are submitted by coaches through the league's team management system, compared against conference opponents, and posted on the league's website. The season concludes with a state tournament where every team is invited to compete for awards and recognition. Students love the league because of the competition and camaraderie. Parents love it because it's affordable and so safe. In fact, since the league began, there hasn't been a single injury to athletes or spectators, making clay target shooting the safest high school sport in the country. And with the nationwide membership in the thousands, it's also the fastest growing. So get on board. We're targeting you to join us at usaclaytarget.com.
And another one, is that it?
This will kind of, this start team, that'll kind of give you a, kind of an overview of what they're looking for.
The High School
from
Clay
you.
Target League wants to help spread the fun and excitement of target shooting to schools across the country. That's why we're giving students, parents, and schools the roadmap for starting a team. Here's what you do. First, speak with your school's athletic director. Let them know it's safe. The school pays nothing. No school staff is required, and everyone's insured. Next, ask a local gun club if they'd like to host practices and events, and how much it'll cost. Then find a head coach. Typically, parents and teachers are a good place to start, along with gun club members and firearm safety instructors. Then, attract students. Get on social media, promote the website, and host an informational meeting where you tell students and parents about the benefits of the league, like how it's affordable, usually around $225 per season, and how it doesn't conflict with other sports, and how anyone can join, boy or girl, regardless of skill level, and everyone participates equally. Once you have at least 5 members and school approval, you've got a team. Then you just practice, compete, and post your team scores on the website, like hundreds of other teams nationwide. So come on, take the first step. Talk to your athletic director today and bring clay target shooting to your school.
So basically, this is kind of tutorial. You can go to that website and then, there's, pages upon pages of rules, regulations, and stuff they want, like, we have to have safety officers and basically a coach. I've got 4 people in mind, myself and 3 of the other guys. We went to college and went to San Antonio and got our, what they call, basically it's beginner to novice certificate in training kids and grown-ups into clay target shooting. So I do have some really certified people that are, quite capable of handling, kids and firearms. So basically I'm just asking for approval and hopefully we can go on from there.
And will you allow it to take place in Honey Creek?
Well, it will be at Clay County Sports
Yeah,
Display.
okay.
That's the plan, yes, down just south of Newton Lake.
Brad, when does the season start? Can you kind of talk about
The season starts basically, you have a couple meetings late in March. You'll have basically, you'll get together, have a safety meeting, kind of go over the rules and regulations. I would have to, once you get approval, make sure all the kids have their hunter safety course or some type of certificate to show that, they went through some type of gun training. Basically how it works, March, you get together, have a little safety orientation, and then the next 2 weeks with what they call practice weeks, where they'll basically get, some instruction, and then they'll have 7 weeks of shooting 50 targets every week, and they'll submit them scores each week, and then they go online, look at their individual scores and look at their team scores. I know St. Anthony had a team put together last year, it had around 30 kids, and they're looking to have around the same, a little more. Altamont just got approved, and Diedrich is going to, vote on it, as far as I know, from the board member I talked to this month. So there is some local schools, and there is a lot of schools out in the Metro East area. Cahokia, Collinsville, Edwardsville, Staunton, Bunker Hill, Mulberry Grove, a bunch of schools out in the metro area that already have this program. They said gives other kids that may not be athletically inclined and may not get to play sports and then, get to progress on the football team, but they never get to participate. It gives kids, another avenue to be able to participate in sport. So.
when do you have to submit the team by though, like to be able
I
to
have
get in?
I have to have a letter of approval by the middle of February, I think 15th or 17th.
Oh, that's what you
I
said.
have to have the team roster sent off by March 15th. So basically,
Couple months here.
yeah.
Month and then
So
But
what
it
is,
isn't something you can do on your own.
no, you have to have the high school.
I have to have high school approval. No, I just can't, I can't
for our kids to compete with this
With this
organization.
other organization though, that I
You know,
can't.
what I'm looking at is, you know, we've got individuals that participate in the Illinois High School Rodeo Association, that they can go out and do it on their own.
Correct.
But this isn't something, but it's not an IHSA event.
No.
An
But they do,
IHSA
they
doesn't
do.
offer it,
No.
so, but it is.
But they do, you can look in that video and they say they strictly abide to IHA's regulations and, you know, they have to be, you know, academically, you know, doing their homework and there's several rules that, you know, will not let them participate if they're not, you know, behaving at school.
So a kid that's homeschooled can't compete, basically.
That's.
They
I
can't.
think they can,
I think they
as
can.
long as they're part of
As
that
long as-
team. I mean,
as
as long
long
as we
as-
have a team
As long as we have a
established.
team established and they get approval from that league, yes.
So they can go in and compete on Newton's homes.
Yeah, you most likely have a board policy on that. Homeschool kids are usually allowed to participate in the extracurricular activities of their school district, provided they reside in the district. I don't know which policy it is,
I
but
think our policy doesn't have.
I don't think it does.
That's not what ours says right now,
They
but
have
we
to
don't
attend so
allow
many
it.
hours.
okay.
Half a day.
You have to be in
It's half a
school
day,
district so
isn't it?
much. My
So you'd have
guess,
to
this
review
will be
that
different
But
though.
this will be different because,
Well,
right?
we
Because
would
we're
have to
not
make sure.
sponsored. They're
But you're
just
not
not-
actually using school property for
No,
this.
no, this will be on a membership home design club that I'm a board member. I've had it for 15 years. And, like I said, the certification I got back in '94, so, you know,
Because the school doesn't have anything besides they're using our name and logo.
basically we're just asking for use of name and logo.
And you said the district would be added as additional insured on your insurance policy, or the gun?
The kids will have their own insurance through this league.
Okay.
Plus, when they do come to our property, yes, they will be covered because we have a
General liability.
general liability.
What's the liability of the school, do you know? Is there any liability to the school district?
That's a loaded question.
I know, that's why I asked.
I think the answer to that's yes.
There's always.
Anytime we put our name
Just
on it.
like any activity that you have, if your name is on it, someone could come at you if there's something that went wrong. Whether or not at the end of the day you'd be held liable is a different question depending on the facts of the case, but to say that there could be absolutely no liability, it's hard to say that because you never know what could happen. It may not be any fault of you, it may be, you know, transporting or whatever it is. I can't even think of all the scenarios, but anytime your name's on it and people are going to sue, they usually look to the district first. Now, what he's saying though is that all the kids would be insured on their own. And to the extent that they're on their property, they slip and fall, they get hurt, they have general liability insurance, which should jump in and cover that. But, you know, I can't guarantee you.
That our liability will not cover at the gun club.
No, I've asked you to check with the insurance, what did they?
We checked with the insurance company, and the insurance company's statement was, make sure that your organization had, I think, $1 million policy.
Right.
What we have.
And you do.
And you do.
And therefore, we would be okay. Basically is what they told us. Now, we didn't get into particulars.
Scenarios or anything.
Right.
No, you can't.
It's hard to.
Yeah.
But we did ask.
Who knows what's gonna happen? Right.
Do they need to have their own firearm? Yes.
Yeah.
Particularly, yes, but in certain circumstances, I think there's enough of us that are going to be involved, we can find, there's avenues we can borrow, or they can use one of ours, or I think there's avenues that they don't necessarily have to have a firearm if they're not, you know, financially able to provide. We can, and hopefully if it does go, we do have some interested people that are interested in fundraising or helping support, so I think there shouldn't be an issue with a kid being left out. I really don't. I mean, we'll find a way to make sure each kid gets their opportunity.
So
Can you, go ahead.
does the $225, does that include their plays for each time you meet?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's
That
no
includes
extra
their
costs?
plays, their fees for shooting, the ammunition, the clay, the insurance. Yeah, because you're looking at, basically every time you shoot, you're looking at probably 10, you know, between shells and clay pigeons, you're looking at probably $10. per 50, so you're looking at around $100 for those 10 weeks. And then plus, $35. And they said if you wanted to add a shirt, they added shirts, little stuff in there if you wanted to have a team shirt, this, that, but on average, they said around $225, and we're hoping to negativate some of that with fundraising and stuff like that. So, yeah, so we're hoping to get that cost down to maybe $50 or $25, we don't know.
And then you never know, like they said, the Olympics, I actually have.
Yeah, and this is one of those deals, this is basically just a stepping stone, this is not, you're just competing against other schools. I mean, there's a shooting complex in Sparta that was built 10 years ago, and it's basically the World Series of shooting for the whole United States, and they spend 10 days down there, that's all they shoot. It's trapped for 10 days straight, and there's like 2.5 million targets shot in that. So there's avenues that if the kids really want to seek it. There was a kid, I don't know if you know Will Richards, he traveled, I know she does, he traveled 5 states around here going to every competition, and he was an all-state shooter at one time, so, there's avenues that if this is something a kid wants to do, there's plenty of avenues other than this high school league that he can venture into to do. He wants to, if he's good enough, he can shoot the Olympics. That's one of those deals, if it's in your heart, you'll make it happen. So.
Yes?
I think it's awesome.
I'll make a motion.
Something I might add. I came here to support Brad in this, and my wife and I are excited that there's an opportunity, for the kids to participate in this. I myself participated when I was a high school age student. We have a high school age student. He's excited about the opportunity. And like I said, I've been doing it for over 40 years. I've been involved with Brad. I've seen him compete. I can assure you he has the facility and he has the know-how. So,
Can you beat
and
him?
I have offered my help.
Can you beat him?
Oh, yeah.
We're not discussing that now.
Way to go, Bridget. That's all I had to say. Well done, Brad. Good presentation.
He said he would help me at that moment. I know I do have Tyler Gass, Ryan Michael, and Chris Bradley said he would. Because all Chris, Travis, and Chris, Ryan, and them guys, all three have the same certification I do that went to college and basically went to a shooting facility and got their sporting clays instructions. So they're quite capable of, helping kids with, understanding the etiquette and the safety of, handling their firearm.
Right.
So.
Good job.
And there will be no firearms brought to the school, no ammunition. This will all be done more likely on Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Typically, traffic shot on Sunday afternoon, so, if we can't get it all done, where kids can't show up and we have to show up on it, we'll make arrangements for the kids to get in what they need to get in that weekly process. So, all this stuff will be all done on premises, so if they have to get a firearm, they can bring it to somebody's house or bring it to, that way there will be no worry of any type of firearms or ammunition.
We appreciate that.
Randy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Melissa?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Brad, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Good
job,
luck.
Brad.
We support you 100%. We're excited that you're doing things for kids. That's what this is all about, so thank you. Your help too. I want to know if you can beat him later. We'll talk later. The next one's Jay. Discussion about the LIC conference. Really a short discussion. Beth wants to give us a little bit of insight on what's coming.
Last week, the LIC principals met, and it was brought to our attention that Oblong would like to enter our conference. The LOVC has disbanded, and so they are without a conference. So they are looking to join the LIC conference. So at the principals meeting, it was discussed, and everybody decided that they all wanted to be able to go back to their boards, discuss it with superintendent and board, just to see if there were any concerns that their board or superintendent may have about allowing Oblong back into the LIC. Because we will have to vote on it, the principals will have to it will go to a vote, but we're gonna have a meeting in the next week or so probably, where Oblong will come and they'll present kind of why they want back in and things like that. But I just kind of wanted a discussion, if there's any concerns from the board and Mr. Johnson about allowing Oblong into the LIC. Now, I guess I should say also, for football, they would co-op with Pal Hut. But then all other sports would just be Oblong. Okay, they're the only ones that have approached us about entering the LIC. So just so you're aware, football would be a co-op, but every other sport would just be Oblong entering the conference.
And it will put our football conference at a point that there'll be no non-conference games.
Correct.
It'll be strictly conference play.
Right, that would take that odd week off, and then every week would be filled. Which, for us, we have those booked, Mr. Ramoser has booked those out so many years, which is not a problem for us, but there are schools in the conference who do maybe have next year's game, but they don't have anything after that just because they can't find anybody to play. So, that would be a benefit of allowing Oblong in for football.
So why did they leave to begin with?
That
Did I have a problem with Oblong
Right.
coming back in?
You're talking about why they
Yeah, why they
went
leave,
with the
because they were
LVC.
in LIC.
Sure.
correct?
I think that they went with another group because of travel, because it was closer. The group that they went with was closer for travel for all of them. But then they disbanded, but then some reorganized, but they didn't, Oblong wasn't part of that group. So that's why they're left looking for somewhere to go.
They were a smaller school in the
Yes,
LOBC,
yes.
smaller conference.
Right, but with them co-oping with Palestine Hudsonville, they would be actually bigger than some of the conference schools that we have. They would be bigger than like Flora and some of them. I mean, so they wouldn't be as small as what they were since they're co-oping. But yeah, that too, that they were a lot smaller than a lot of the schools in the LIC. So.
Or are they gonna play like the football, or would they play that at?
Well, that's not even, that would be part of their presentation. I don't know. I don't know how that co-op's gonna work. That might be interesting to see how that works out for them, but I don't know. They haven't said. And that will be part of their presentation, I'm sure, when they bring it to the LIC principals, kind of the game plan, so. But I just wanted to make sure, see if there was any concerns from the board before I go and vote one way or the other, so.
So I don't think we really needed any action on that, other than if you have some, Beth will convey that for us. No? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
items 13 and 14 are not included in closed session for this evening, so if there's no objection, we would actually bring those items forward now and vote those now. Does the board have any objection to doing that? Okay. So anyone-
Does that need to be an action item voted on, or no? No.
Does anybody object?
No.
Okay. Andy?
Okay, so moving forward with it, then item 13 is approval of employment. Number one, I need approval to, and we'll do these separate, approval to hire Kim Rundy as the junior high assistant track coach for the 2017-2018 school year.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Gordon,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jed,
Yes.
Mandy.
Yes.
Number two of employment is to approve to hire Troy Bierman for high school science, beginning with the 2018-2019 school year.
I'll make it.
Second.
John,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jed,
Yes.
Mandy,
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
And then item 13 is just authority to hire if needed for the upcoming month
I'll make it.
for the superintendent.
I'll second it.
Holly,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jed,
No.
Mandy,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Executive session.
All right, so, we're gonna go into closed session for the sole reason of discussing the lawsuit that's been filed against the district, although you haven't served with it yet. So I assume, and I just wanna talk about this with Board Member Ernest before we take the vote, that you would be recusing yourself from the vote to go into closed session and from participating in the closed session, since there's a conflict between what we'll be discussing and you as the plaintiff in the lawsuit. But I didn't want to I wanted to hear from you first to find out whether or not you're agreeable to that.
I checked with my attorney before I came in, and I will be attending the closed session.
To discuss the lawsuit?
Yes.
That you filed?
Yes.
Okay. With that being said then, I'm going to recommend that you bypass going into closed session, that I give you a very brief update right now on the lawsuit, and then I will communicate with you via writing the 6 board members that aren't plaintiffs in the lawsuit with an attorney-client communication. So unless you guys think otherwise, but it would be my strong recommendation that for common sense, if not anything else, that we don't go into closed session and discuss a lawsuit with the adverse party in the room. So basically, it's very brief at this point. A lawsuit has been filed. It's not, as someone had mentioned in the public about Mr. Ernest being censured. That's not at least how I read it, that's not the gist of the 4-page complaint. It's more about, I think that some other gentleman talked about tonight, about whether or not due process was violated due to him allegedly not getting all the information that other board members get. I'm not going to go into the merits of that right now in open session, but what would happen from here on out is I assume at some point we'll be served with a lawsuit or contacted by an attorney and ask us to waive service, at which point then we'd respond within the timeline. And again, what I guess I would ask for at this point, and your board policy already sets this forth, is that our law firm be permitted to consult with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Fulton on any issues that arise throughout the lawsuit. But at the same time, when we have to update the board as a whole, minus the plaintiff, we'd be doing that in a written communication that would be attorney-client communication. So that's really, at this point, all I feel comfortable sharing.
Thank you. At this time, we entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Melissa? Yes. Bob?
Yes.
Red?
Yes.
Tammy? Yes. Gordon?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Holly? Yes.
Thanks everyone for attending.